Hello. Welcome to the How to Make a Map panel. Basically.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Learning how to make Minecraft maps. Greetings, welcome. How many of you guys in here have made Minecraft maps? Oh, excellent. We're in good company. So we're going to learn a lot from you. But what you see up here on stage is collectively more than 30 years of Minecraft map making. And that's not a joke, right? Yeah. We started in 2010. It's 2016. These guys, collectively and myself, have probably made over 100, 125 maps, all different sorts, mini games, stories, adventures, PvP, you name it. So they're going to go around and introduce who's up here, and then we'll start our discussion, and we'll leave some time at the end for some of your questions.
And hello, everyone. My name is CDF Demand, or other known as Hans. In my Exponential Experiences map series, I've made 7 maps like Facility Fall and Lift 9, played by Captain Sparkles, and yeah, other experiences like light shows and other mini games.
I'm Cordy at the Pie. I made the puzzle branch for the popular map Diversity 2, which currently holds the world record for most downloads on Guinness. I also made a map for Realms called The Present Factory, and I'm actually releasing a map tomorrow called Valley of the Kings, which is kind of a PvP capture the flag type deal.
I'm Unlikely Waffle. I released my first map back in May 2015 called Core, and since then I have made several more maps, and right now I'm currently working on my sequel to that first map, Core, which is currently unnamed, but I have been working on it for a little over a year now. A couple of my maps have been played by large people, like Core was played by Captain Sparkles, and then another one that was Santa's Gamble was played by Minecraft Universe, and a couple other people I can't remember the name of. Here you go, here you go.
Okay, hi, I'm Dragnos. I've made a few maps. Recently released something called The Fire of London. Before that, completed something called We Are the Rangers, which is like an African safari type map. I also do a lot of the maps for the Wonder Quest series. I don't know if anybody watches Wonder Quest here at all. Yeah? Yay? So yeah, I've kind of do a lot of, most of their maps. Yeah, and just general do some tutorials and teach kids how to kind of do it themselves.
Hello everyone, I'm Jiggerbov. I've made many maps, SimCity and Minecraft, Simburbia, City of Love, Aaron Mansion Adventure. Right now I have a map on Realms called Infinity Dungeon, which if you have a Realm you can download and play, and it's a lot of fun. I've got over 10 million downloads across all of my maps. I've been doing this thing for a really long time.
My name is Moshe. I am a consultant for Minecraft Realms. I look at all the maps that people like this make, like people like you make, and I help you make them better, and when they become good enough, we put them on Realms. I'm so impressed by the kind of maps I see every single day. People are making games with Minecraft, and these are the people that will tell you how to do that and how to do it really well.
He's our hype guy.
All right, and my name is Ars Malik, all out of seats, so I'm going to walk around up here. But I've been making maps since early 2011. I've had a hand in solo or making collaborations with these guys in about 30 plus maps. Some of the notable ones would be Grinchmas. Most recently, I put out a map called Wendy, which is pretty interesting. Mars Mission is another older map that I've been part of. And of course, Simburbia and City of Love with some of these guys. All right, so maps don't make themselves. Today we're going to walk through kind of what it is to make a map from scoping, from design, from build, from testing, and each one of us is going to kind of cover a portion of that. So Cordy's going to kind of start off and tell us about some of the tools that you should have in your toolkit when creating maps, even before you begin, what you should be thinking about.
So my specialization is sort of command blocks and map mechanics. So that's the first thing I think about when I go into making any map. And before I even have a map idea, I want to make sure I have a good map template. That is to say, you want your spawn chunks highlighted. And for anyone who isn't aware, spawn chunks are sort of this area around the original place where you spawn in the world that are always loaded. And if you do not have your mechanics in the spawn chunks, then they will sometimes become unloaded and all sorts of problems can come from that. So the very first thing you want to do when you're making any map, and you can reuse this process, so you can save this file and use it for future maps, is highlight your spawn chunks. That's 7 chunks from the spawn in all directions.
Why does everything need to be in the spawn chunks?
Because if it's not in the spawn chunks, then it won't necessarily be loaded. If you put it near the player, it might be loaded, but changes in render distance can sometimes affect whether it's actually loaded for certain players.
How do we find spawn chunks?
You can find them if you find the world spawn, which actually one method of doing that in multiplayer is to just kill yourself and see where you spawn, or you can find it in MCEdit, which is what I usually do. And preferably you do this in a void world, so you don't have a bunch of extra blocks getting in your way. And then what I usually do is, in MCEdit, I select the chunks around that area in that 15 by 15 grid. And you can make it 16 by 16 if you position it properly, but you can find all sorts of information about that on the wiki.
That sounds very technical. Do you have to do that to make a map?
You don't have to do it necessarily, but for more technical maps, it is very helpful.
Cool.
If you go into the world presets on the super flat world, there is a preset called Void World that Sarge created. Yeah, everyone know who Sarge is? Can I get a noise for Sarge? Woo! All right. So he created this thing called the Void Worlds that will create you a little platform that you can then use to find out the spawn chunks as well.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
I haven't actually seen that preset yet, but I haven't played with that.
There you go, huh?
Yeah, it's very
you've had
convenient.
yours for so long.
Yeah, I have my void world I created by deleting everything in MCEdit,
Yeah.
and then just
Now we
copying
can
that
press,
over and over and over.
if you hold down F3 and
Yeah.
press G, you can see every chunk in Minecraft now.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so if you
Wow.
want to find your chunks, that's how you do it now.
I think the point is that we're always learning, even us on the panel.
Absolutely.
And it's, you know, we never think we know everything, ever, because we, like now, sitting on a panel, we just learn something new from the people next to us.
Yeah, so essentially, once you have that down, you can use that for all future maps, and you have sort of a blank slate onto which you can build whatever you want. And you can build your map off of that, and it will be more efficient than just building on a vanilla world, although not necessarily the only option. You can use a vanilla world if you prefer, or if you don't want to build the builds, or you don't, use voxel sniper or whatever. But that's always an option.
Some of us just use a survival world, fly around, find a good spot, and build right
that's
there.
a popular
'Cause
method, and it's good if you want that sort of terrain.
The thing is, it's very good to I mean, Ron here, he used to host, or he still hosts, like a 60-minute map challenge. Now, a very way to very, very quickly make something incredibly impressive is to actually generate a world, fly around, find a beautiful piece of terrain, and then just build your map or get your inspiration from that and build around that.
Yeah.
But I mean, but if you are going to be doing some kind of massive custom map or a custom adventure map where you do have somebody coming in to actually build, the world and the other things for you, start off in a void world. Otherwise, you're going to run into troubles real quick.
So do you all just jump right in and start building, or find your spawn chunks, or have your template? Or is there anything you do up front to manage that build project?
No. So I would suggest for everyone to first outline what you're trying to accomplish. There's no point in running out into the woods without an end goal in mind, right? Or you don't know which way you're going. So be it a story that you're trying to tell, or a mini game, or maybe a parkour experience, I would outline everything that you wanted to do, establish what kind of settings you need, establish the size and scope of your map, so that when you have the whole to-do list done, right, you have yet to place a block, you've got the to-do list, and you know exactly what needs to be done. Yes, there will be problems that come along in that process, but it's much better than, okay, I want to tell a story.
That doesn't sound very fun. How do you make that fun?
Yeah.
That's a good question. So, okay, so map making is hard, right? It's a grind. You start and then you end, and there's a lot of time in between those 2 points. And at the beginning, you're inspired with your idea, right? I've got this great idea for a story, great idea of the mini game, and that's when it's easier to outline everything, in my opinion. So you put it all down on paper, and then it's like a checklist. You know exactly what you have to do, and there's not a lot of thought, additional thought into, what is the next step. You always know what the next step is, and pretty soon you have a released map.
So you don't want to get lost.
You don't want to get lost.
I'm glad you added "in my opinion" though, because in my opinion, you get a world and you build and you just run with it. None of my maps have ever started with any sort of a plan at all. And maybe you can see that in there, or maybe you see something that's exciting and you never know what's going to happen around the next turn.
See, for me as well, a lot of my maps, my personal project maps, just started off with new features that was added, and suddenly I could do something I couldn't do before, and the map from there on just grew. It was like, oh, look, I can do this now. I can have this cool mechanic, but now I need to build, Gotham City because, I'm Batman.
That sounds a lot more fun.
But doesn't that have the risk of scope creep, though?
Of course it does.
What is
All
scope
maps
creep?
have.
I have huge problems with scope creep.
Yes.
Scope creep is when you have an idea and you have a thing that you want to accomplish, and then you think, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you did this? Oh, wouldn't it be cool if you got a new sword? Oh, wouldn't it be cool if to get that sword you have to craft a thing to get it, but to get the things to craft it you have to kill the thing and then create a simulator of some sort.
But I think the big point
That's
here
it, yeah.
is that each of us will have a different way of working. We each have, this is the thing, our maps are incredibly different from each other. If you look at our maps, I mean, it's totally different. It's because it's our personalities that goes into that map. It's we take out our heart and we put it down there and it still beats, oh, sorry, wrong analogy.
I've played that map, though.
Yeah, so what about you? What's your method? Have you...
I pretty much, oh yeah, I should probably use a mic. Mics usually help a lot more. So I just start off by brainstorming a small idea that I have and see how I can expand that. And usually I'll write down some bullet points of points I really want to put in the map, but otherwise I kind of just let it evolve on its own.
That's good. That's kind of the hybrid. That's good. Yeah.
So as you can see, there's a lot of different methods people use, and pretty much all of them work well in different ways. So whatever method you think will work best for you, you should go for it. And really all you have to worry about is not doing anything, because that's the only way you're not going to get progress.
Don't let the method stop you. Yeah.
There's no right way to do it.
Yep.
So when you're starting, start with whatever you think is most comfortable, and then you'll learn what you think is the better way to do it as you go along. You will fail all the time, but that's okay, because when you fail, you say, well, I'm going to use that idea for the next thing.
And when you
Learn
do
from it.
fail, and you reach problems in your map making stage, please reach out and ask for help. The map making community is really tight and really helpful with supporting young map makers, people starting for the first time, or the people who've been doing it forever and still have questions. So reach out and always look for the answer. Don't just give up.
Yeah,
So sorry, I've got a question that I want to add to that. Out of all of you guys now, so the maps that you have released, okay, how many maps have you not released?
almost all of them.
So
Personally, I have hundreds of maps that has never been released, okay? So it's keep on trying till you find the one that works. Yeah?
Yes.
and I would mirror the
thing.
same, yeah.
Yeah. What other kind of Minecraft map making horror stories have you guys faced? So creating a map and then having a patch come out and completely nerf your map the next day?
I've got a city simulator in Minecraft. It is called Simburbia.
Anyone hear of that map? Simburbia? Yeah.
You should play it.
It's a very, very complicated map, and it used a mechanic that between 1.8.5 and 1.8.6 completely broke it, and the map is no longer playable in any current version. And to create it again, or to make it work in the latest version, I would have to start from scratch, which I'm not willing to do. Maybe we'll make a sequel at some point, but the mechanic in question.
The question was, is the mechanic in question was the dispensers?
Absolutely. Dispensing command blocks was a thing that was there, and it's no longer there. So completely having to rework that. So that was a sad time. Fortunately, you can just use your client to play that particular version for that map, but it is a hoop that you, as a developer, wouldn't want your players to go through when playing your map.
There is a tool available now that will create a custom profile with the correct versions and options. If you want to find out more about that, I will have to look up the name, but it is actually great.
Yeah.
So it's an installer
Oh, right. Oh, right. So installer
that you have control over.
But would the audience need to download, or would we need to download anything additional about the map? So we will need to download the installer.
All that would happen is the end user, you guys, would get the map, and you wouldn't care about what version it is. You would say, instead of launching your own profile in Minecraft, we would create a separate profile for that map only, that has the proper settings, that has the music off, that has maybe controls or something.
I want that. Give me that.
It exists.
I didn't know that was a
If
thing.
you
never
want
heard of that.
more
I didn't know that either.
information, I will find it out.
Please.
It's from MVJRS, I believe is the name. It's someone that is very talented who did that for us.
Nice.
For us. Who's us?
Yeah.
Majervis?
Ah, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I also would
So-
be interested.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so continuing the Mapmaker horror stories thing, a short one that's sort of a word of warning about using not officially supported features. So about a week before the release of the map Diversity 2, I don't know if any of you have played it, but at the end of the puzzle branch, there's a portal section where you sort of have a portal gun and you shoot these colored sheep that you can travel through, right? A very simple mechanic, but I was using wither skulls, which they used to be sort of our standard marker entity. They don't interact with anything. They just kind of float there in space.
What's a marker entity?
It's an entity that just sort of is there. It marks a position, but it doesn't interact with anything. You can't see it. They're very helpful, but if you want to find out more about that, I advise looking at the wiki, because there's a lot of really helpful information on the wiki in general. So a week before Diversity 2 came out, there was an update that removed the ability to use wither skulls. Now, the reason I used them is they automatically align to the center of a block. They removed this right before release. So the sheep got stuck in the side all the time, and in fact, if you watch the Yogscast playthrough to this day, they phase through walls because of that. So always be careful if you're using not officially supported features like the wither skulls, because that could happen to you too. And it's not nice.
Well, the current solution is to use armor stands
Or area effect clouds.
or area effect clouds. Yeah.
So you're saying don't make maps that have bugs in them?
Well,
No,
bugs are okay, but
That's kind of difficult.
Yes, no, that's impossible.
never seen a map without a bug.
So one of the other topics, if you do make a map with a bug in it and you realize you are playtesting it and you have to fix it, is to make backups of your world as you go. Now, this may seem like you're taking yourself out of the process and it's extra work, but I cannot tell you how important it is that when you're making a map, you do whatever scene you're working on, exit the game, save it, copy that folder, rename it, version whatever, and then open the new folder and continue from there.
Yes.
Because you will type something like fill 0 to 1,000 and wipe out your whole map with air blocks.
Or kill at E.
Dun dun dun.
But you might do that
I've
on
seen it
purpose.
happen.
You might do that on purpose.
So what are some other things that you guys have done that have kind of accidentally introduced bugs or caused you guys issues
Wow.
In
Yeah,
what way?
Waffle, yeah.
during map making?
Oh, during map making. Geez.
During map, well, I test stuff, my entity stuff off chickens.
Okay.
Okay, it's just, I don't know, it's just, I
I
like
feel like
the-
that's quite cruel.
Exactly. Well, I like Nando's, which is like a Portuguese chicken restaurant. No, I'm not plugging them at all. Anyway, so
But you hope that they do.
so I constantly forget. So with the latest version of the command blocks that you can actually auto run the command for 20 times a second, when you actually shift right click it, you can actually copy that command block and with the data in it. So while you're working, you always would make a copy of a command block and place it down there. And then quite often, I would copy one of these command blocks that kind of summons a chicken. and then put it down on the world, and it'll just
Hundreds of chickens.
yes.
It's even worse when you accidentally make something with exponential growth, because that will crash everything, and there is very little you can do to stop it.
Yeah, like a chicken spawning a chicken spawning a chicken. Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
One thing I've learned to do is to actually, if I'm in creative mode, keep a sword on my hotbar, because if you're in creative mode and you right click or left click with the sword, it won't break a block. Whereas if you're working on a bunch of command blocks and you accidentally punch one and you can't remember what that particular command block did, that can be very painful as well.
Yeah, I used to do that, but I actually recently found a program called Smelt, where instead of typing the commands into individual blocks, you can type them into notepad files. And you can sort of have rows of commands like lines of code in a notepad file. And you run just a simple command prompt program, and it gives you a little one command installer type thing. And you can just stick that in a command block and press a button. So if you accidentally break one of those, you can just refresh it from the notepad, which it also helps you have a lot of backups of your work, which is very important.
If I asked you to make a spleef game, how quick would you be able to do that now?
With Smelt, maybe an hour or two, depending on how complex I want to make the lobby and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, Smelt makes things super easy now.
Without Smelt, that would probably take me 2 days, maybe a day, 8 hours, let's say.
At least.
So that is pretty wide difference, 7-hour difference.
Not to mention bug fixing. You want to find out like if a scoreboard's being modified or if you made a typo somewhere, just Control F. So much easier.
How long does it take to learn Smelt?
It's basically just rows of command blocks. There isn't a whole bunch of pseudocode added, so it's very good for people who only know command blocks, so they can just dive right in.
Does anyone here make models? Hands up for models. All right. It is JSON. Models use this language we call JSON. And for Smelt, you add a line that says these next command blocks are going to be this kind of command block. And then the next line, you just write down what's in the command block. And that, we found, has increased the workflow. I'm not worried about carrying a sword in my hotbar. I'm not worried about breaking a command block because all of my command blocks are laid out in a text document. So I can see everything I need to do right in front of me, instead of going to each command block when I want to figure out what I want to do. Smelt is amazing.
So I'm a new map maker, and I don't know what a command is, but I know that I need to know commands in order to tell a good story, right? To make things happen. How in the world do I learn how to do commands?
Well,
YouTube.
There's a lot of different tutorials. Personally, I think that which tutorial you should use depends on sort of what person you are, what your level of experience with other programming is. If you're sort of already familiar with other programming languages, then I highly recommend Dr. Brian Lorg on 111's tutorial, which you can find on YouTube. It's great. I don't know, are there any other tutorials for like people who don't know about programming that you guys would suggest?
I started with Dragnos.
He's sitting over here.
I know, right? But the wiki is also a great resource that lists out every command in Minecraft, and it tells you exactly what it does, right? And what's really important when making maps is you have to understand someone has already done it, right? If you're trying to make a portal gun, someone has already created a portal gun. But have they made a map with a portal gun? That's the question. So when you go to make your map about portal guns, you go look up the YouTube video and say, okay, how did they do it? How can I improve it? And how can I implement that in a fun and engaging way in order to make a map that multiple people will enjoy? So if you know what you want to put in your map, you can go look up how to do it through multiple different resources.
I found it really scary to start making maps. How do you make that easy?
Oh, just do it. I know it's scary, but it's like everything else. Is go watch go watch YouTube videos, see how they do things. Actually experiment. Because as you experiment with these things, as you find out what all these commands do, you'll slowly but surely start realizing how to put the things into an order that'll do what you wanted to do. So it's very scary to make a map, but just don't let it stop you. Just
Start small.
Yeah, start small, absolutely.
And the thing is, your first map might not be good, your second map might not be good, maybe even your third, but eventually you will improve over time if you just keep doing it.
Absolutely.
Because you learn from other people playing your maps. And, you know, the first time you release a map, you thought this would work, but then it doesn't, right? And you didn't play test it the first time, right? You didn't ask for feedback, but, you know, you release a second map, and this time you're like, oh, maybe I'll hand this out to some of my friends to play test and see what they think, right? And they're like, hey, you know, this isn't good, or I didn't understand what to do. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to take your feedback, I'm going to make some changes, and then now what do you think? Do you understand it now? And, you know, you get better every time you do that, and your product gets better, your map gets better.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid of criticism.
Yeah.
At all. Take the criticism on board and improve. Yeah.
And Scratch is the best on Twitter wants to know, when is the best time to let go of an idea if it's not working out for you?
It's when it's not fun to make anymore.
Okay.
You're doing this for fun, right? Some people log into Minecraft to make a world. Other people to log in to make a house. Some people decide, hey, I want to make something for someone else, and I want them to play it. And you can choose to keep getting better, but if you're just not having fun, maybe put it down and just try a different game so you can get it re-inspired.
You can always pick it back up again.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. And just to go on with what Moosh said is that you know, you guys play games. Okay, you know what you enjoy. If you make something and you play test it and you don't enjoy it, just scrap it. Start from the beginning again. That's why we have hundreds of maps unreleased. Sometimes it's easier just to completely and utterly abandon the map, and sometimes it's just, you know, you just scratch a small part of the mechanics and just restart that. But that's one of my biggest issues, is constantly breaking down what I've built and starting it completely and utterly from scratch again, just because it's not that experience, that it's a gut feeling. It's not working.
I guess that's one way to do it. I always ask myself,
Sounds painful.
all for the axe. I ask myself, why am I not enjoying this map if I'm playing testing it?
Yes.
And I don't just scrap it. I think about, okay, what would make this fun, or what is not fun about this? And can I save it? And if I can't save it, then I'll just shelve it, and maybe I'll have another idea another time that says, oh, right, that'll save the game. That will save the game. And then you feel so much better because you feel smarter than you were before.
Maybe someone else can save your game.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's another
Yeah, maybe.
thing. Yeah.
Ask for help.
Good
And
idea.
I know, for a sort of extreme example of this, there is no limit to the amount of time you can shelve a project and still come back to it. The map I'm releasing tomorrow is actually a Broken Buttons map. They're a build team. They built some other maps. But it's a Broken Buttons map that was built in 2013, which they built a map for the MINECON for 2013.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, so it was built in 2013 for Play Mindcrack, and they never used it. So it was just sitting on a shelf. It was just a shelved project for 3 years before I finally saw it and thought, you know what? Let's take this thing, dust it off, put some mechanics in it, and see how it works. And, you know, it actually works pretty well. So there is no limit to how long you can wait to pick up a project again.
But that's not to say that you should drop the project at the first sign of, you know, problems, right? Or the first challenge. You know, have some grit in it. You know, you have a vision to release something that tons of people will enjoy when it comes out. So at the first sign of conflict, don't be scared to reach out for help, to get through the problem, work through it, ask for help on the problem, because you'll find on the other side, it's really worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have anyone to turn to, just ask any of us on Twitter. I'm sure we'll respond.
Absolutely.
Yeah, speaking of Twitter, so Nope Name asked, how do map makers influence Mojang and future MC versions? So I think you guys have probably all tweeted or tried to get something in the game that's not already there, but what's the best way to kind of have that dialogue?
The thing is, the Mojangsters actually watch a lot of YouTube videos. If you guys, was anybody at the 1.11 feature update? Yeah. So there they said that they watch, and they confirmed that they watch a lot of videos. And I would like to think that they see us try and do something, and they see we failing, and then they would think, oh well, you know, this might work, or this might, you know, they might actually change things for us. So I've heard of cases like that where we've tried to do something on a map, it didn't work, we completely and utterly hacked it, and then within, within the next update, a fix for that was provided. But also always reach out via Twitter. Twitter is not a good place for bugs, it's a place for hugs. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. There is official, I mean, Mush can definitely tell you more about where to go for, there's places you can request features and things like that, official places.
There is Minecraft suggestions subreddit would be the place to go, but the thing I want to add to that is Mojang developers understand what we're trying to do. They understand that we have the ability to make games in Minecraft. The position that Sarge has taken, and he has said this, if I think you cannot do it, I will try to add a feature so you can. But we can do a lot. We can do pretty much everything now. So I would sooner ask a map maker, how do I do this, than I would go to Mojang and be like, please add this because I need it. Because we can do ray casting in Minecraft. That means the game knows where the character's looking. And that's really hard to do. That's really difficult, but we've done it. And that's brilliant. So go to a map maker, go to a channel, go to help places first and say, I want to do this. I want to make a ball that bounces. And we will tell you how to do that. And that, I find, is so much better than asking the game developers to make something that you don't know how to make yourself.
Breaking it down into the thing that you want. So making the ball that bounces, you're not going to ask Mojang to be like, hey, can you make a ball that bounces? You need to ask, can I make this ball bounce? And the answer is no, because there's cubes.
All right, so we talked about a lot of stuff from scoping to design to building. Like, what do you guys think is the most important step, though, in putting a map together?
Testing, absolutely testing. You need to test.
Yes. Can we get cheers for that, please, for testing? Yes. Test more.
When you think you have tested enough, test more.
And don't test just at the end. You know, you should test your mechanics early on, and if things that aren't working, change them. Test throughout the entire development cycle to make sure that things are working, people are understanding what's going on, that they're getting it right, and that you can have fun in this environment.
Once you've completely exhausted all of your testing, get someone else to test it. And then tell them to keep testing it until they've broken it, give you back all the feedback, and guess what you're going to do once you've fixed all the things that they reported? You're going to test it again.
When you say test, that sounds really boring.
It is.
It is.
Well, it depends. I've had some very fun tests recently, because yes, it is just going through the map, seeing if you can break it, seeing if there's any way around your goals or whatever. But ultimately, you are playing the game, and especially in something like a multiplayer game, it's a different experience every time. So it's still a lot of fun to sort of see what you have built come together and see people enjoying it, and it's your first chance to sort of get that feeling that we all as map makers aspire to get, where people are enjoying something we have created.
Are you saying then play the game?
Yeah, you play the game.
So we've been saying test a lot, but really, make your game, play your game, make your game, play your game, play your game, play your game, play your game, then watch other people play your game. And that's fun. That's the fun part of testing. And people don't really think about that when you say testing. They think, oh, I gotta sit there and I gotta make sure that they don't break it. But you just play the game, and then you ask people, please play this game, and you don't talk to them. You just watch them play your game. And watching someone else play something you made is the most wonderful feeling I have ever experienced in my life.
You can talk to them after they're done, finish your game, though.
Yeah.
You don't
talk to them
just
after they're done.
Stop talking to them forever.
Don't give them hints or anything at all while they're testing. Because that's a very, very valid point. I mean, I've recently been making a lot of linear adventure maps, and it's incredibly important to watch somebody play it to see how they tackle it. So I gave it to somebody to play, and they were just opening all the doors. It's like, well, why are you doing that? Because they're there. You know, so watch how they interact with the map while they're testing. Very, very important. Never give them hints.
So you're saying players will do what you least expect?
Absolutely. They will do the worst thing you can possibly want them to do.
All the time.
Even
And
things you can't imagine.
It's not the worst thing, it's just not what you expected them to do. I made a map, 10 minutes long. I thought, if you're good, 5. Gave it to Ron Smalek over there, 30 minutes.
I'm slow. What can I say?
What do you guys do when the player doesn't do what you expected to do? How do you solve that problem then?
That depends on exactly what the player is not doing. Ultimately, you have to change the map in some way or sort of adapt your map towards this goal. And you have to take that into account. Take into account where the player is going to be going, what they're going to be doing, what they think they're supposed to be doing, and all of that. And that's why testing is so important. It will bring your map to a polished shine.
So you're saying it's not the player's fault, though?
No.
I don't think so.
Not
Not at
usually.
all.
I
I think
strongly believe that if the player doesn't do what you want them to do, that's not their fault.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was exactly going to agree. That's the one point, is that if you don't tell or show the player what to do, where to go, they're going to explore. They're going to play Minecraft.
And there's, just to be clear, there's a big difference in discovery and having a player learn through the course of your map and not explicitly telling them every single thing that they need to do, but giving them hints or information so that they can have that discovery on their own. That's very difficult to achieve, but extremely rewarding when you give these hints and then you see the player fall right into exactly where you wanted them to go.
Players don't want the answer. They want to figure out the answer.
Yes.
Yeah, and some players, like me, I review a lot of maps, so I'm often trying to find things wrong to give these guys feedback. So like in 2011, I played Jig's Arenev Mansion Adventure, and one of the very first things I noticed is that in these different valleys where the story takes place, I couldn't get out of them because he purposely took the time to go in and build all the ridges 2 blocks high at the time and move the houses away from the ridges so that I couldn't jump off the house and out of the map. And I've seen, when I've given my maps to Jig, one of the first things he tries to do is also jump out of the map. So if you're looking for like some common things that you want to safeguard against, think about the player's path, how easily they could get lost by not being kind of breadcrumbed to where to go. What are some other things that you guys have seen players stumble that maybe educated you in future maps?
Where do I go? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. There's been a few mechanics that I've put, especially my first map core, that I thought were really obvious, and then people were like, how do I get past this? I have no idea. So basically just make sure they know what they're actually supposed to be doing, and don't just assume that as well.
Because if you add any kind of custom mechanic into the map, it can be as simple as navigating by opening up a map, or if you drop something else happens. Remember, the player is used to playing Minecraft. If you add anything new into the map, they will not know that unless you somehow teach them. And once again, I'm going to say teach and not tell them, because as Mush was saying, is even the teaching needs to be an experience. Even learning how to play the map should be a fun part of it. And once you've taught them how to play the map, then you can start with all the nice, juicy stuff.
Yeah, show, don't tell. It's true in storytelling, and it's true here too.
Yeah,
I think a really good example is Super Mario Brothers. Has anyone played Super Mario Brothers before? Okay.
Everywhere.
So, everywhere. There's a couple. On the very first level, you're in a blank. There's just a floor, and you can go forward. That's all you can do. You go forward. There's this little thing crawling on the ground, a Goomba, and you run into it. You die. You have learnt now that you can't run into the Goomba. As you approach the Goomba the second time, you try your buttons, because there's buttons on that controller, and you can jump. You jump, and it's made in a way that you accidentally, if you try to jump on the Goomba, hit your head on the first question mark block that's there. Out pops a coin. Cool. I'm going to get that coin, and I'm going to kill the Goomba at the same time. You have just then, in the first 10 seconds, learned how to play every Mario game from then on.
Amazing, right? Like that, when you hear that for the first time, I bet I've never thought about that before. Wow, that's incredible. And they only said level 1-1.
There's no words. There's nothing that says press left on the controller to go left.
But what happens if I hit other blocks then? Now that you told me the coin's going to pop out, what about if I hit my head on the other blocks?
Well, you just better try and see what happens.
Ah, okay, I'll do that.
You put that question in the player's head, and I love that part of it.
Exactly.
It's like the question Mark Block asks the player a question.
If you want to see a great example of showing players rather than telling players mechanics in games, Half-Life 2, every new mechanic they introduced, every new weapon, and every new interaction, they would show the mechanic in a space that was safe for the player, right? You would see it up on the wall or whatever. You could test out the mechanic in a safe environment to understand how it worked. And then they would place the player in the conflicted areas with the enemies, and the player already knows how to do it. So, that's a good way.
Yeah, Valve does that a lot. In fact, if any of you have the game Portal, which I'm sure many of you do, it's a very popular game.
Portal?
Portal?
All right.
Yeah, we got a lot of Portal players. So in the config, there's an option to turn on developer commentary. And what I advise you all do, because map making is essentially game making in Minecraft, is turn on the developer commentary and replay Portal. And listen to all of the developer commentary, because the people at Valve are very good at this, and they go into a lot of detail about how they are showing the players how to play the game. Like how they have a ladder to bring your attention up, or how they have the first portal gun on a pedestal shooting so you know what it does.
You just talked a lot about games that weren't Minecraft. I thought we were talking about how to make a map in Minecraft.
But that's the best way to learn how to make a map in Minecraft.
It is.
Right.
By playing other games.
Yeah, by playing other games.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you say almost that maps are games in Minecraft?
Pretty much, yeah.
Some maps are games.
I like that thought. That seems like fun. What do you guys think? Are maps in Minecraft games? Can we get a cheers for that? Yeah? So we got a little tepid, not quite sure yet. We're going to get there.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah. So I'm going to head to the center mic if you guys want to line up if you have questions for them. But while I do that, they've talked a little bit about how to build maps, how to think about maps, how to test maps. How do you put them out there and get people to play them?
So after you do your extensive testing, right, you're good, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to release this thing. And there are a lot of channels in which to release a Minecraft map. You can zip it up, host it on a digital file download service such as Dropbox or Mediafire, and then you post it on different media channels such as Twitter, such as the Minecraft forums, MinecraftMaps.com, Planet Minecraft, all kinds of places. Just get your map out in front of as many people as possible.
And depending on your size of audience, you could even have your own website like www.jiggerbov.net, where you can get those maps.
Yeah, if you're an especially prolific map maker, that's an option.
Wait, I just released my map. Am I done?
No.
Oh, of course not.
Why not?
So
gotta promote it.
one thing first, before we answer your question, also make a trailer for your map. That is incredibly important, because people need to know what they can expect to experience when playing your map. So a trailer is very important. Doesn't matter if you've got 0 subscribers or a million subscribers. It's important that you actually have videos, screenshots, all of that for your map. And then get that out there as well. Just tweet it and go into communities.
That important?
Yeah,
Tweeting it and getting it out there, or
What do we get out of it?
That's marketing.
yeah.
Oh, it's marketing.
It's marketing.
So you're saying
it's not really what it's not what you get out of it. It's not what we as map makers get out of it. It's what the audience can expect. So it's actually they, in the end of the day, the people who play your map get to decide whether they're actually going to spend the time to download that map. So the more you can do to actually entice them to play the map, that's why.
Beautiful.
And then once someone does play your map and you see like a Let's Play on YouTube, even if it's a really small channel, anyone who has touched your map and that you can directly reach out to, please just say thank you. You know, just a little thank you for playing. What was your favorite part? Was there anything that you think I needed to change? And I know I've learned so much about map making just from getting people's feedback through replying to YouTube videos.
Oh, and fix bugs. Testing doesn't end just because you release the map.
No.
Yeah, update it to be workable.
That's another reason. Well, another reason why I watch a lot of the Let's Plays is to see how other people break it, because you can only test so far, but testing never ends.
So what you're saying is help the player play your map as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Looks like we've got a bunch of questions coming up. What do we got?
So if you can say your name and question.
Hello, I'm Is it on?
Yep.
Hello, I'm Christian, and have you ever used World Edit for any of your maps?
Hi, Christian. The answer is yes.
A lot.
Like everyone.
Every single one.
And Voxel Sniper, that's another good one.
Almost.
Well, the thing is, recently, a lot of the maps I worked on, I don't actually really do the large-scale building. But my own personal maps, I don't use World Edit. I use MC Edit and World Painter.
Oh, interesting.
All right, my name is Eli. One of the things you were talking about before is that whole map maker community. What's the best way to like reach out, ask questions, talk to other map makers about those types of things?
Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Minecraft forums, Reddit.
Yeah.
There's, you know,
What subreddits do you recommend?
Minecraft maps.
Oh, there's a Minecraft map subreddit. Who knew?
There is.
Also, like Smelt, where do you get it? Is it free?
It's free, yeah. You can get it at smelt.nasp.com. You might want to remember that because it's actually really hard to Google Smelt Minecraft and find, you know, a very specific tool.
You want to spell GNASP
Yeah.
and Smelt.
So you'll want to remember that URL because that's the best way. To find it.
Multi-platform, Mac as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
it's a
believe
command
so.
line tool.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's kind of
Just as close as you can.
All right. Hi, I'm Sky, and I was wondering, how do you guys organize like lots of people in like a map project? Like, do you use any like tools online, or do you like delegate responsibilities or something?
First of all, I like the pose. It's a nice pose.
quite a nice.
Looks good.
Slack is a good one for multiple people. It's a good communication tool. Trello is another good one. Anyone else use anything else?
Trello, I'm an
Discord.
absolute... Trello, the nice thing, Trello, and Google Docs. Okay,
Yeah.
because Google Docs allow you to actually create forms. So when somebody plays your map, you can actually create a bug form for free online, which they can log in, and they don't even need to log in. They just list the bug, say what the problem is, hit send, and you've got a bug report. So Google Docs definitely as well.
Yeah, one thing that I did when I first tried to do a collaboration was to just give my co-map makers a world and say, this is my general idea. You take this section, you take this section, do whatever you want. That could work with a certain group of people that you know. But if you're pulling together a group of people you don't know, have that outline, that project management that we kind of made fun of CDF for. Have your outline and your tasks that you want people to work on, so that you can get your vision across through their hands. So.
The biggest
Nice meeting you, Sarge.
Thank you.
to add to that really quickly, be good to the people that you work with. More than anything else, it doesn't matter exactly what tools you use, but if you are nice, work on being nice to the people you work with as much as possible. And then you will have a better map and you will be happier doing it.
I mean, map making is stressful, seriously stressful, at times. It's fun, incredible fun, but Moosh is right, be nice.
Hello, my name is Dylan. What has been the funniest or weirdest or best bug you guys have found in your maps?
So I remember when I was playing an early version of Dragnoz's We Are the Rangers, and there's a feature in there where you can put on a night vision set of goggles. And what I did beforehand, this is right after, was it 1.10 came
Yeah,
out?
it's
1.9. I switched my controls so that my left hand was my dominant hand instead of the right hand. And I wasn't seeing things in the game with the night vision the way he intended, and I kept talking to him on Skype and like, I'm not seeing that, I'm not seeing this, and I just shared my screen, and he immediately saw, because I switched my hand, the model, the way that the custom model reacted, didn't play the whole game the way he intended.
See, and this goes back to testing. I mean, no matter how much I tested or other people tested, nobody else I knew in my circles and online switched the offhand. And because the way the models work is that you can specify a different model for the offhand and the normal hand. I use the offhand because that's kind of, if I do any kind of custom mechanics, I quite often use the offhand as the activation slot. But because you can press F, it puts it in that, and then you can detect it and do stuff. So that completely, and now moving forward, I've now been able to, in my later maps, design for that, in case people do that.
Thanks, Ron.
My name is Artemis, and I want to know, what is the most important command or most used command that you've used in your maps?
So understanding selectors, it's not a command, but it's how you target every entity, and every command has it in there. So like the @P, the @A, the @E, and understanding like how to select the right entity that you're trying to run the command on, that's probably the most important thing at the moment.
And as for specific commands, I'd say scoreboard. Scoreboard
Yeah.
tags, scoreboard values, selecting based on scoreboard, just everything scoreboard. Just read that whole wiki page top to bottom. Absolutely.
Exercises you could do for that is spawn in a few entities at random that are all the same entity, and then start figuring out, okay, how do I single out one? That, if you learn how to do that, and just run that exercise over and over and over, you'll learn everything you need to know about selectors.
Yeah. I personally like /kill @E, but
Don't do that.
Don't do that,
No one do
never.
that.
Thank
It just
you.
started off. No, you're good.
My name's William, and
Hi,
I was
William.
wondering, so what would you say is the best technique for like a draft? Like, do you do a draft for each map, like a smaller version of the map with the mechanics, and then you just kind of test it in that draft?
I've done that, yeah.
That is a great question.
It's
Very
pretty
good,
useful.
thank you for asking that.
So if you follow me on Twitter or watch my videos, when I start making maps, I start playing in a flat world. I just start playing with mechanics. So for example, with We Are the Rangers, you would have, I just played with the animals. You know, how do I make the animals walk? So I build all the little separate pieces on separate worlds. And when I'm confident that I'm not going to completely and utterly blow up the world by what I'm doing, I start assembling them in a main world. So from my point of view, yes, I mock up the separate mechanics in completely different worlds.
prototyping.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a testing world as well that I test all my commands in, so basically what he said.
Yeah, the number of times I've broken my testing world, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
spend a lot of time figuring out what is the least amount of work I need to do before I can actually test. Remember? Test. What is the least amount of work I can do before I can test my map or play my map? And then I only do that. I don't care about what it looks like. I don't care about how bad or inoptimized it is. I just want to make the game. I want to play the game. I want to enjoy playing the game. So figure out what the least amount of stuff you need to do to actually start and end your game, and do that.
So I'm just going to go back. I used to work in kind of like software development companies, and there was always a phrase that the developers had, a slogan. It's 1, make it work. 2, make it fast. 3, make it pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 3
that.
steps. Make it work, make it fast, make it pretty.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and I have a question. What would you say, like, when you have an idea, a small idea, sorry, I can't talk. Do you have, like, a process that you go through to make that idea a bigger idea?
You have a small idea?
Kinda.
Stay with the small idea.
Yeah.
Don't go bigger.
Well, I mean, like expanding it and making it more detailed
Okay.
to actually develop it.
I ask myself questions. I just sit there and I talk to myself. And my partner doesn't like it when I do that. She walks into the room and blah, 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 blah. What are you doing? I'm talking to myself because I have an idea, but I can't figure it out unless I keep talking. How about you guys?
The other way is, brainstorm it. So to make a small idea big, run it by a couple of people. Be like, hey, I want to have a bricklayer who builds bricks and needs to create those bricks before putting them into a path. And then talk to other people and be like, yo, does this sound fun? They're all going to be like, no. Or they're going to be like, yeah, let's have a bunch of other people help this person make bricks to make the path longer or to add a conflict or something like that. So there's tons of different ways.
What about you, Dragnos?
I like to keep just a log file of ideas. Sometimes I just throw little ones in there, and after a while, I'll start to kind of connect them together, and then it forms a bigger idea.
So, but I'm going to go back to what Mush said in the beginning as well, actually, is if you have a small idea, keep it small. Execute, make that idea reality. If that idea works, it will by itself, just by the act of you creating and making your small idea, it will increase. And if it doesn't increase, that's fine, because you know what? Tomorrow morning, you're going to have another idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was great. That was a great explanation of what I wanted to say.
I think this is in the running for the best pose. Sorry.
Yes.
My name is Tyler, and my question, I'm not going to do this. My question is, you mentioned within an update from, I think you said 1.8.5 to 1.8.6, it just completely destroyed one part of your map. I want to go the flip side of that. What's a feature that came in, your favorite feature that made an impossible situation like now unlocked to you?
Pretty much every update has one. The quickest, easy one I can think of is clone. When Sarge said, hey, there's a clone feature, a day later I had made Infinity Dungeon because I'd always wanted something like that.
Targeting entities. When that came in, targeting entities. Targeting entities.
Target the microphone.
So when they brought in the feature where we could actually use the @E to target entities to do stuff, that completely and utterly changed everything.
Yeah, and I never released it, but I used to make a theater, sort of a lighting tech demo, I guess, with the backlights and the curtains and all that jazz. It was just a personal project of mine. But I finally finished it with all these really, really complicated piston mechanics that I barely squeezed into the space, and I wasn't able to do a lot of stuff. And in the next update, they released redstone lamps.
With every new release, I mean, even what we saw at 1.11 today, we're automatically thinking, we're like, how could we make cool games with these new features? We get excited about them, and then we're like, what can we do to exploit these?
Anyone think the illagers are cool? I do.
Oh, yes.
I think they're going to be awesome. I'm really excited about making maps with illagers.
I think, so that was, it's a cool name. And we look at those and we think, how can we manipulate those for our own nefarious purposes?
I was immediately like, oh, look, new little flying things that hurt you. I can't wait.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
I think we just probably only have time for one more.
We have a minute and a half.
Yeah.
The last one, and then you guys can come up and ask after.
Hi, I'm Abdul, and I was having a question about, have you guys ever found yourself limited to making a map based on what Minecraft's abilities are?
Yes. What's interesting, though, is that, okay, you have the grand idea, and then you're like, man, wouldn't it be cool if it did this? Well, the game doesn't support this. But what is the next step back that I can get it close enough that it's still a cool experience? And that's a lot of what we do.
Although less so recently.
Yeah.
It's been getting a lot better. It used to be back before command blocks and all that, all the time. But now that we have command blocks and we're getting a lot more stuff every update, yeah, it's become a lot easier, so not as much.
I think of it as, I like the limitations because they help me think creatively. If you're limited by something, then you have to outsmart it.
There really isn't any limitations anymore. Like, I have made SimCity and Minecraft. People wanted to do that for a long time, and it's there. So if that's possible, anything is.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for
Yes, thank you so much for coming, guys. And make maps.